Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Have not done this in quite some time, but we have a Dynasty Fantasy Football startup to happen. Let's get this going. We're going to be at pick 6. I like picking in the middle. That way we don't have to sit here and wait 5 to 10 minutes to give our thought process on what we'd be doing at each individual selection. So I think pick 6, pick 7, pick 8, pretty good spot for us to be able to go through and give you our thoughts on exactly what we're looking to do in every round. But thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, everybody, in this live stream. Really do appreciate y'all. And as always, if you have not done so already, drop a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football and want to get access to my Dynasty rankings, want to get access to the Dynasty rankings of all your favorite content creators, get into drafts with us just like this. You can find all of that on flockfantasy.com. When you sign up to flockfantasy.com and use promo code FLOCK, you are going to get 30% off any subscription. On top of that, you are going to get your Dynasty team broken down in a podcast by yours truly. So make sure you are taking advantage of that. You can find that link in the comment section and the description. But one other thing that I need to let y'all know is I know a lot of us have been drafting on Underdog Fantasy every single day. Hell, y'all have seen us drafting there every single day on the main live stream. It's where we won $150,000 last year in best ball drafts. We drafted over 700 teams. Well, with our partnership with Underdog Fantasy on flockfantasy.com, if you are a member of flockfantasy.com and you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, head over to flockfantasy.com right now. Go to your account page. There'll be a space for you to put your Underdog Fantasy username in. Put that in there, and then you will get an additional $10 credit automatically applied to your Underdog account. I worked my butt off to get you all that. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. And if you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK and you're a member of flockfantasy.com, make sure you fill out the Google form to get the exclusive Underdog/Flock merch that you can find in the Discord. Now that that's all out of the way, let's look at this draft. Richardson going off the board here at 202. More and more you are seeing these picks where people are all in on Anthony Richardson. Makes sense if you're looking at best ball drafts right now. He's being drafted as like the quarterback 10 off the board. The man's literally a rookie. So if this season's expectations are sky high, it makes sense why people are willing to go through and say, okay, well, yeah, he's probably going to skyrocket in value after this season. Personally, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Bryce Young here. I didn't really have to explain our Trevor Lawrence selection too much. I think Lawrence is in there right after Herbert, Burrow, Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, and his Superflex league. I think here, if you're looking at Bryce Young, you can maybe make a couple different arguments. Maybe instead you could go through and look at someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe if you really wanted to look at like Breece Hall, you could. In my mind, Bryce Young's going to be the selection, just in the fact that if you're looking at Bryce Young, you have a ton of flexibility with how we want to build this team from here on out. If you go Christian McCaffrey, you have no option but to build a team that's ready to win today. Whereas if you have Bryce Young, you can either build the team that's looking to compete today, but also with the cornerstone assets of Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young, at the same time, you are going to be in a spot where we could build for the long term as well. We could build for 2024 if we really wanted. Okay. Now, let's see. Isaac says, is this a mock? Yes, sir, this is a mock. John says he's been hitting them poodles on Underdog Fantasy. Logo says, first Dynasty startup I've seen you do. Love it. Oh, really, my friend? We've done this a ton. John says he's been fading Taylor a bit. I understand that thought process maybe from a Dynasty perspective, especially if you're not a contending team to go through and fade Jonathan Taylor. If you're looking at Underdog drafts right now, we're just for 2023 best ball, he's going behind Garrett Wilson, going behind Jalen Waddle. I understand that in Dynasty, but just for 2023 leagues, I've actually been drafting a lot of Jonathan Taylor. But Taylor here, 203, I'll definitely agree. Taylor here is too aggressive. I would not draft Jonathan Taylor at the 203 if this is his price in a Dynasty startup. Okay. So now Breece Hall off the board, 211. Olave goes with the 212. Stroud, interesting enough, goes with the Jalen Hurts team. I don't want to say too much because maybe it will give away the player that we're looking to take with our next selection. So I'm going to just zip my lips real quick. One thing I actually want to make sure I'm doing is I need to just go to flockfantasy.com and pull up my rankings. This is a 30-second timer. Sleeper ADP is straight up garbage. So yeah, let me just go to flockfantasy.com, make sure I have my rankings pulled up. That way I'm able to go ahead and actually make the best decision possible. G-Bus says, thanks for the bread on Underdog. You're the man. No, thank you, my man, for being a member of the flock. And yeah, super excited to get y'all that. I mean, we've spent too much time working on that, to be honest. I mean, y'all noticed that we are just updating and upgrading flockfantasy.com like nonstop. Over the past 2 to 3 weeks, it slowed down a bit, but that was because we were working on getting that underdog integration for y'all and getting y'all that $10. Okay, now, okay. Okay, I think we have a pretty strong selection here. Let's see, Tyreek off the board. Interesting to see Tyreek go to the CJ Stroud team. I figure maybe if you take CJ Stroud there in the second, you go a little younger. Gibbs was going to be our selection there. Okay, full transparency, we were going Gibbs. Now I think, honestly, do we just go ahead and reach on someone? We could go Dak. Two guys I'm looking at. We'll go with the safer play here. We'll go ahead and we'll take Dak Prescott. We'll go 3 quarterbacks out the gate, and I understand a lot of people probably don't like that. One reason why we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the 3rd quarterback here is the other player that I would actually want is down in ADP. So there's a realistic shot that we could be looking at him on the way back around. Dak Prescott, there's no way in hell he would have made it back to us in the 4th. The other guy that we're wanting possibly can. Adam says, sorry, Mason, was looking for Gibbs the whole time. Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to get Jahmyr Gibbs. That's what I wanted to point out with CJ Stroud going at the 210. Like, what you'll see is in startup drafts, people realize, like, oh, crap, these quarterbacks are impossible to come by. Let me go ahead and let me take these guys where I can, where you have CJ Stroud going off the board this early. But in a rookie draft, everybody's like, oh, no, you can't take Stroud. You got to go Gibbs. That's why I personally have in my rankings still Stroud over Gibbs, even though everybody else is opposite. Now, if Gibbs would have fallen to us in the middle of the 3rd, we would have taken him. But Trey Lance, 310. Dear God. Now, y'all know I like me some Trey Lance. Now, would I have taken Trey Lance in the 4th? Nope. There are a lot of players on the board that I'd still take over Lance. But nonetheless, I love to see the vote of confidence. Love to see it. Now, Devonta Smith going off the board here at pick 402. I personally would have taken Smith at the 407. This was the player that I was thinking about possibly taking in the middle of the 3rd, but obviously we do not get the option now. And let's figure out, where are we going? Where are we going? Pitts goes 312. Goff goes 404. They're going heavy in there at quarterback. I wouldn't have been looking at Goff for any time soon either. Okay, London went 401. I was going to say, has Drake London not been drafted yet? What the hell? One thing that we need to do on flockfantasy.com is I need to be able to go through and link sleeper drafts to the website. That way, if someone's drafted in your sleeper draft, it automatically crosses them off the board in the rankings. That would be so damn useful. Okay, but until that happens, we don't have the capability. And instead, we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to find someone we like. Think I know who we're reaching on, but just wanted to confirm. I'm not going to do it. Do we just take a veteran? Okay. The veteran wide receivers may very well be the best values on the board right now. Cooper Kupp, Davante Adams, in my mind, extremely strong selections. The reason we go Hawkinson here is, if you're looking at the build of our team so far, starting out the gate with Lawrence and Bryce Young, we still have the possibility to make this a build for 2024 and beyond. Now, at the same time, even if we think the veteran wide receivers are better values, they would not fit our roster like TJ Hawkinson may here. So we're going to go Hawkinson, give ourselves some flexibility. G-Buzz says, I really like my team, not going to lie. Let's see where you're at, my friend. Here, Pick 11. Bijan, oh my gosh. Yeah, getting Bijan Robinson pick 11 is great. Richardson, great. Yeah, love your team, my friend. Like I said, I was considering Devonta Smith possibly in the 3rd round. Cameron coming out says, is Lance at the 7-11 good value? I personally, as a Trey Lance truther, think it's phenomenal value, my friend. Now, at the same time, like I said, 310, I would have loved the price last year. Looking at the realistic red flags, I can't be taking Trey Lance at the 310 this season, but 7-11, I'm all about it. Okay. Nicholas says Hawkinson over Mark Andrews. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go Hawkinson over Andrews. I think that they're comparable this next year. I'd rather have Mark Andrews, but you're looking at TJ Hawkinson as a 25-year-old tight end versus you're looking at Mark Andrews as a 27-year-old tight end. Getting the extra years with Hawkinson, still an ascending asset. I'm going to take Hawk. Owen says integrating a flock cheat sheet into Sleeper would be so helpful. Please do that. We definitely have it on the docket for the developers to get to that as one of their next few projects to improve the site. Some kind of Sleeper flock fantasy integration, right? Where you're able to go through and you're able to either directly upload our rankings to Sleeper and go through and kind of draft off those, or you're able to go ahead and link your draft to flock fantasy. And then as you go through and as you progress in your draft, and like Kenneth Walker goes, then he is scratched off the rankings or something of that nature. Now, of course, that is on the docket to do. That is not something that we have right now. So do not join flockfantasy.com and scream at me that that's not there. Okay, so let me pull up our rankings, see what we can be looking at. Is Diggs still available? No, Diggs went a long time ago. Najee is the first thought here. Let's just see if there's anybody else we could go with. No, we're going to go Najee Harris. There's maybe a wide receiver that I think you can make an argument for. Najee definitely old to be in the 2021 draft class, but at the same time, I mean, Ellie's still on his rookie deal. He should be someone we can start this next season. And then obviously, I think he is going to be a somewhat consistent asset, especially if you were to compare him to like Nick Chubb, right? Gucci Broomstick says you took Najee from me. I'm sorry about that, my friend. I'm sorry about that. But Isaac says 101 is the youngest team ever. 102 is the most win now team ever. 101, Young, Olave, JSN, Johnston, Addison. Yeah, very cool to see the two discrepancies and the two major differences between these teams, right? Nico coming out says 12 team, 3 wide receivers starting. We have Chase, Pickens, JT, Pitts, Lance, Young. Should my next pick be Ridley, Deontay, Mike Williams, or Zach Charbonnet? If I had to choose someone out of that list, I most likely would go ahead and I would be looking at Calvin Ridley, my friend. If I had to choose someone out of that list, we'd be going Calvin Ridley. But thank you. Thank you. Now, Debo Samuel going to 5'10". Rogue says, how do you get into these Dynasty leagues? So I sent the link out to this in the flockfantasy.com Discord. So if you remember flockfantasy.com, you should have seen it. And Tony Pollard going off the board at 5'11". Actually, let's still be able to see these names here, right? Let's move this down. I really like our team. Lawrence, Young, Dak, Hawkinson, Najee. Have yet to take a wide receiver, but we'll definitely be trying to find some of these values a little later on. DJ Moore off the board. I mean, if we're looking at wide receivers right now in particular, best available, you have Flowers, Jameson, Pickens, Godwin, Burks, McLaurin, Ayuk, Ridley, Hollywood, Hopkins, Amari, Dotson, Mingo. Running back, you have Chubb, Javonte, Swift, Henry, Mixon. Quarterback, we have Levis, Pickett. Oh, it's crazy to see Levis with an ADP this far. I mean, Sleeper just has some, I don't know why. Like, one thing that Underdog just crushes with. I don't know if it's just Underdog has significantly more drafts and that's why, or it's just Underdog's all paid leagues and Sleeper has a lot of free mock drafts. But, or maybe it's just Underdog's 18 and up. How does Sleeper not fix this ADP issue? It's been years. Sleeper obviously has some very, very strong suits. Like that you can be excited about playing on Sleeper. I just don't get why like the ADP is always so bad. It's just the people drafting here. Like, you legit have Levis over Pickett, Russ, and Geno. Chubb going off the board, 605. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. All right. There is the pick that makes the most sense for our team. And there's the pick that is the best value on the board, that if this was a real dynasty league, I would take him here and look to sell him later on. Now, I'm going to act as if this is a real dynasty league where I am able to make trades afterwards and we are able to make some plays. And if it is a real dynasty league here, Geno Smith, in my mind, is going to be significantly more valuable than anybody else on the board. I think if you're looking at Geno Smith, very comparable to Jared Goff, who goes off the board 404. We get Geno Smith 607. We get him directly before Treylon Burks and Kenny Pickett. So I understand, yes, we do not need a fourth quarterback. You don't have to tell me that. I get it. But I believe if this was a real league, we'd be able to take Geno Smith and then go and approach the team that only has, say, Josh Allen, and go, hey, man, I'll give you Geno for your 2024 first and second. But Gucci Broomstick says, bro, I thought Geno was going to come back to me. Yeah, I mean, he had a very low ADP. There are definitely some players with a low ADP here on Sleeper that you have to be on the lookout for. You have to be kind of trying to hunt for them. Okay. Now let's see. Flowers off the board. Gucci Broomstick says, that's the same way that I've been playing. Okay, let's move this down. Henry goes 6'11", so that's the team that's building a win now approach where they have Kupp, Kelsey, Henry, Josh Allen. So they have 1 million points this year. Now, of course, this team starting in 2024 and beyond, it's probably no bueno. Levis goes off the board 6'12". This is the team that's having that long-term build, taking Levis ahead of Derek Carr, ahead of Jordan Love, ahead of Brock Purdy, ahead of Stafford, ahead of Mac Jones. Not saying good or bad, just pointing out what's happening. It goes Brandon Ayuk as well. Strong Ayuk value for looking at the other wide receivers that are on the board. Okay. I don't want to have to continue down this path, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Pickens goes a good Pickens pick in my mind if you're going to compare him to the other wide receivers on the board as well. Javonte, George Kittle. Okay, Jordan Love goes. If Jordan Love was going to fall to us, I was going to sit here and take Jordan Love. But now that Love's off the board, I think we can pivot. I know who my favorite running back is. I know who my favorite wide receiver is. We'll go ahead and we'll quote-unquote reach on our favorite wide receiver. It is definitely a reach if you're looking at ADP, but if I'm combining the long-term outlook for this player as well as his 2023 projection, I personally really like to see where you have Jahan Dotson right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I will take Jahan Dotson here. Alan says, Dotson, thank you. Thank you, my man. G-Buzz says, Kittle's so undervalued right now. Yeah, I mean, Kittle, definitely a strong pick as well. McLaurin goes off the board. Let me know, who would you rather have in Dynasty? Would you rather have Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson? I mean, clearly, you would rather have McLaurin for 2023, but from a Dynasty perspective, who are you going to be taking here? Logan, great. Love Dotson. C says great value on Javonte. Alan says Dotson for sure. Die-hard Washington fan. Logan says Dotson as well. John says Dotson for 2023 to be honest. Oh my gosh, my man. I hope you're right. I definitely have more Dotson than I do McLaurin. Ridley goes, so we have a massive run on wide receivers. I mean, we only have one wide receiver so far, but obviously the plan with this team would be to go through and take Geno Smith and flip him for a wide receiver. Like, the plan with this team would be to look at the team with no quarterbacks and silly dilly and go, hey, man, I'll give you Geno for Michael Pittman, you know. Okay, so DeAndre Swift off the board, 7-12. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody that's pinned down on ADP. Derek Carr, 801, great value on Derek Carr. Mixon goes, oh, sorry if you're not seeing this. Ian says Mixon might have just been an awful pick. I would say if you're drafting a win now team, Mixon's fine here. For Dynasty, I probably would prefer someone that can maybe give you somewhat comparable production this next year with a little more long-term upside. Someone like Akers or maybe a Miles Sanders, for instance. Okay, Rodgers off the board. Okay, we're going to go Hollywood. Easy pick in my mind. Kind of surprised that we're getting him here. Hollywood drafted in 2019, only stayed 3 years at OU, however. So the man is 25. Now, of course, he's not great. It's not like I'm sitting here drafting Hollywood Brown expecting, oh, yeah, we just got a top 5 wide receiver. No, he's never going to be a top 5 guy. He's probably never going to be a top 10 guy. But I think if we're looking at mid-round 7, a top 24 wide receiver that's 25 years old, a perfectly fine price point. So we're going to go ahead and we will take Hollywood Brown here. I definitely would prefer someone like Amari Cooper for 2023. And maybe even prefer Christian Kirk for 2023 as well. But I think maybe we'd take Hollywood Brown for the long term. Gucci Broomstick says, if Hopkins gets traded, he's a top 15 player. If Kyler's healthy. But Aaron says, do you post your rankings? Yeah, my rankings are on flogfantasy.com, my friend. Mr. Smith says, are you in on Devon Achane, yet practically the same size as Gibbs? Not true in the slightest. And it's the earliest that offense have taken a running back since Kenyon Drake. Yeah, he's not the same size as Jahmyr Gibbs. Not close, my friend. I mean, Devon Achane has a BMI of 27.8. So, yeah, I think saying that he's the same as Gibbs is disrespectful to Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, so Miller goes off the board here, 8-12. Gucci Broomstick says, isn't Gibbs BMI low? I mean, Gibbs definitely has a, I don't want to say size concern. Like, it's not great, the size profile Jahmyr Gibbs has. But looking at 27.8 versus, I believe, Gibbs is 29.4, it's a big, big difference. Trying to come up with an analogy for it. It's like saying your local McDonald's franchise owner is rich, so he's like Elon Musk, if that makes sense. Like, he may be rich, but you're looking at someone that's on a far end of the extreme on the other end. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs may be small, but he's not Devon Achane level small. Okay. Now, Matthew Stafford going off the board, 902. Okay, I have one guy zeroed in. See if he'll fall to us. Let's try to come up with a backup. I know someone was saying Roshan in the chats. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. Ooh, Brock Purdy, starting quarterback for San Francisco. Or backup for Sam Darnold. Miles Sanders goes. Miles Sanders was our guy. Tan Solo, of course, always going to snipe us. Jared coming out with a donation says, traded startup picks 2 through 6 for Mahomes and Lawrence in 2 separate deals. Start 13. We can start up to 3 quarterbacks. We also drafted Justin Herbert. Was that too much to give? I hate the fact that it's a start 13 league. Depth's going to matter a lot there. I would say if we essentially traded all, we'll get back to that one second. Let's figure out what we're going to do here. Oh, you're going to see me panic. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Do we panic Montgomery? We'll panic Mac Jones. we'll just get a starting quarterback that we can possibly go through and look to throw in on the trade block. But not ideal to say the least. If he's the guy that's going after him is Dalvin Cook, however, I'm fine with it. If we are looking to give ourselves some flexibility with trades, I think Mac Jones is a fine pick at this point. Of course, you definitely have red flags in the fact that he's not going to run the ball, so you don't have much rushing upside. And the same time that, historically speaking, we haven't seen Mac Jones with a lot of passing volume. But anyway, going back to this. If we traded all our depth in a league where we can start up to 3 quarterbacks, but we have Herbert, Mahomes, and Lawrence, I think we are in a phenomenal spot. However, we probably just want to make sure that we are punting this next season, earning the 101 next year, and looking to compete in 2024. But having those 3 cornerstone assets to build around, specifically in a league where we can start 3 quarterbacks, I think is a very strong setup for the long term. In the short term, maybe it makes sense for us to go through and look to just, I want to say, punt off this next season and look to play for 2024. Okay. Alan says, Sanders at the 904 is fantastic value. He could legit be a workhorse and is only 25. Like I said, Miles Sanders was our target there, 906. I agree with the sentiment of him being a great value. I don't necessarily know how far we want to take it. But if we're looking at like Miles Sanders versus Joe Mixon, for instance, like if you're looking at underdog fantasy drafts right now, Miles Sanders is literally going higher for 2023 drafts. Miles Sanders drafted in 2019, Mixon drafted in 2017. Okay. Roshan goes 1003. Swing this around. What are we getting here, ladies and gentlemen? What are we getting here? Okay, Kamara off the board. I literally have no idea. Jones goes 1006. The guy that I want to take is also a reach. We'll go ahead. We'll take Josh Downs here. I mean, if you are looking at Downs, strong prospect profile, a couple issues. One, the fact that obviously he's not the biggest guy in the world. 2, the fact that he goes to Indianapolis, where at the end of the day, with Anthony Richardson, we don't really know what the passing volume is going to look like. So that's not ideal, but with Josh Downs, does check a lot of the boxes that we look for. Josh Downs was an early breakout. Josh Downs dominated as a sophomore, and Josh Downs at the same time went out there and declared as a junior. Those are going to be the 3 big boxes that we are looking at. I think you can make a strong argument to go ahead and take Brock Purdy because of the trade value as well, but I don't want to sit here and just take a quarterback in every single round and say, okay, well, yeah, we'll trade him. Yeah, we'll trade him. Yeah, we'll trade him. Yeah, we'll trade him. I don't want to do that. So we'll go ahead. We'll take Josh Downs here, 1007, and make this roster look a little more balanced. And then some of the other guys that we'd be looking at would be further down ADP, where we're not having to go through and take them here. Like, there are a lot of guys that I want that are just so far down ADP. It just makes things difficult. Like, how the hell do I pick which one I'm taking now? Bateman goes 10-11. I like the Bateman pick. Bateman in years past thought was overvalued, but here, if you're getting him at the 10-11 turn, I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point. Okay, Mims goes 10-12. Elijah Moore 11-11. 11-01, sorry. Alan says, I like Jaden Reed, was drafted 50th overall. Yeah, I mean, he does check some boxes as well. I think if you're looking at the Jaden Reed profile, you get the early breakout. The main issue is going to be the late declare for Jaden Reed. If he declared as a junior with his dominator rating, I actually would prefer that a lot. But The big thing with Reed as well is you're having to bank on Jordan Love being good. I just personally don't know what we're going to be getting with Jordan Love, but if you're a big Love believer, I think you can go through and you take Jaden Reed with confidence. I mean, 11th round, strong value. Okay, let's move this around. I think our Hawkinson pick was bad based off the tight ends that are currently available. Like, if you were looking at how strong these tight end options are here, it's hard to make an argument that our decision to go through and take Hawkinson at the 407, even if I really love Hawkinson, it's hard to make an argument that that was a great pick. Gabe Davis goes 1104. Gabe Davis was actually someone we almost took in the middle of the 10th, but based off ADP, I thought we were going to get Gabe Davis in the 11th. So now that he is off the board, we're probably going to pivot over, and instead, we are going to go with one of those tight ends. We'll take David Njoku here. Don't necessarily need David Njoku, right? I just think that he is the best value on the board. A big thing, like you'll notice, if you watch us in those underdog drafts each and every day, like we are strongly considering our roster construction and trying to create an overall well-balanced team in an underdog draft. If you're watching me in a dynasty draft, it is entirely different. It is all about just going through and grabbing who I perceive to be the best option at that pick, understanding that we can go through and we can make trades later on to make almost anything work. So we'll figure it out. Logo says, if Love was awful, Green Bay would have drafted a quarterback way before round 5, right? We can say, oh, Baker Mayfield was awful. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have drafted a quarterback way earlier, right? In my mind, not great logic. I mean, to a certain extent, kind of. But, I mean, it's difficult to just follow that assumption blindly. Okay, now, quarterback, not interested. Running back, Lockett goes 1205. If you're a contending team, Lockett's great value here. A wide receiver's dried up. Tight end dried up after that run that we had. We take David Njoku at the 1106. Then you get Evan Ingram, Dulcich, Kmet, and Cole Kmet. And, Dalton Schultz and now Sam Laporta all off the board. So at this point, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to take James Conner. Really like the value that you get from Conner here as a running back that projects to be a 3-down workhorse this next season. Of course, you're uncertain what the long-term outlook is with a player like James Conner. But, I mean, if we're looking at the middle of the 12th round, if he's going after someone like Sam Laporta, I'd be completely fine drafting him here. And then if we do get that spike week, being able to go ahead and being able to flip him afterwards. Like, if we're looking at this as well, I mean, you could potentially go ahead and grab James Conner here, and then in return, flip James Conner at the beginning of next season if he's actually producing, and try to, in return, go out there and get a 2024 first. Or maybe sell James Conner and a future second and get, in return, a future first. Yuto says, how is James Conner that low? Well, one bad thing about James Conner, like we can't sit here and say it's like the best pick in the world, is this Arizona Cardinals offense looks like it's going to be a very bad offense this next season. Like, James Conner looks like he's potentially going to be the worst offense in the NFL this next year, depending on the health of Kyler Murray. Isaac says, Love or Levis? I mean, I would definitely rather have Jordan Love over Will Levis. If you would have asked me that question back when we thought Will Levis was going to be a top 5 pick, which is what Las Vegas sportsbooks were pricing in, at one point Will Levis was minus 500 to go inside the top 5 picks of the NFL draft. I would have said Levis. But now that Levis falls around 2, and you don't even know if he's going to be guaranteed to start this next season, you have to go Jordan Love. Okay, so Gibson goes at the beginning of the 13th. Okay, let's move this around. Okay, there's one guy that I have my eyes set on, and knowing Tan Solo, how he sniped us on Sanders, how he sniped us on Gabe Davis. You know what? He doesn't even get a shot to snipe us because instead Jacob does by taking Khalil Herbert here. Herbert was our pick. Great selection. That's where we were going to be looking to go. And yeah, now we are going to have to come up with a backup plan. Good Khalil Herbert pick. Like with Herbert, definitely not a guaranteed starter this next year, but if you're getting him in the 13th round, I like your shot. Now let's try to find a backup because that was our guy. Jamal Williams off the board. Did we just get a handcuff running back here? I think we may just grab a handcuff back. Real league, maybe I take Baker Mayfield, but I'm not going to sit here and draft a 5th quarterback on the live stream saying that we would go ahead and we would trade him afterwards. So if we try to stay a little more balanced, we'll go ahead and we'll take Tyler Algier in the 13th and having just the full-blown expectations. All we are doing is drafting a handcuff running back that's like drafting Alexander Madison 3 or 4 years ago. Tan Solo says I was going to take her. I knew it, my man. I knew you were not going to let us get one other, guys. Jacob says 2 first and Khalil Herbert's yours. Deal, my man. Send it over. Send it over. Okay, yeah, Baker goes almost immediately after. Like Baker Mayfield, round 13. Great value. Like I said, if this was a real league, I'd probably take Baker Mayfield's here, and we'd probably look to go ahead and see what we can get afterwards. But I just don't want to go down that road. Troy says, are we doing any Dynasty breakdowns today? I just did my draft, and I'm sitting 3rd on the roster submissions list. My friend, I will most likely get to your team today. Most likely, I'm not going to be live streaming the roster breakdowns, and instead, I'm going to be doing them as personalized podcast, and I'll send it to you through DM, my friend. You know, regardless of if I do it today or tomorrow, it will definitely be done in the next 2 days, and you'll definitely be getting a DM of it. If it's on a live stream or a personalized podcast, you should be able to have it. Now, Thomas goes off the board, 1404. Slide this around. Zach Evans off. What are we doing? What are we doing? I think we go Elijah Mitchell as another handcuff back. I think Elijah Mitchell actually has a workload on a week-to-week basis this next year, and then obviously upside if CMC were to go down. Like, if I'm going to be honest with you, probably would rather have Elijah Mitchell over Zach Evans. Probably rather have Elijah Mitchell over Jacoby Myers, Cedric Tillman, Keyshawn Boutte, maybe even John Mechie. Like, there are a lot of players that go before Elijah Mitchell here. I think I'd rather have Mitchell, even in a dynasty format. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And as always, if you have not done so already, drop a like. If you want to get access to all my dynasty rankings, if you want to hop in our next dynasty draft, do so on flockfantasy.com. Also, make sure you're using promo code FLOCK, and yours truly will go through and make a podcast breaking down your dynasty roster for you. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope that we get to see you with the video tomorrow.